Welcome to Channel 13. We have another Myths episode for you. As you can see by the title, we are covering democratic socialism today.
Bastard commies.
That was John the Elder, and John the Younger is here as well.
Yes.
So the reason we're covering this specific topic is because this is becoming more and more relevant in modern politics.
Yes.
Democratic socialism is becoming pretty big.
Pretty mainstream. The rise of the DSA, Madami's mayor of New York. Yep. Looks like we have genuine Senate candidates that have a chance at winning that consider themselves democratic socialists. Of course, we have Bernie forever, but
that is wrong. They are not democratic socialists. They align with democratic socialist policies, but they are not endorsed by the DSA.
They're still awful liberals. Yes. We understand that. No one likes liberals here. Or conservatives.
We have had...
That's true, yeah. Well, let's...
We'll get to it.
Yeah. Just to throw some things out there, just some qualifying things. We all do have a bias on this. We're not pretending there's any objectivity. In this particular scenario, I am the one that will be, unlike our evolution when we each brought myths.
Yeah.
This is going to be different. I did the one that got, gathered up the myths. We're going to let you two, the Johns, sort of debunk these and discuss these. The point is to inform people about what this is, because it is very relevant in modern politics, and also there's a lot of misinformation around it. But again, we're not pretending that we don't have any bias here. We absolutely do. And while I may ask questions that may seem like I'm pushing back on them, I'm just asking them for the sake. It's natural. It's informative. I'm not asking for me. I already know the answers to the questions. And just another note for anyone who doesn't know, you may hear us refer to the DSA several times throughout this. The DSA refers to the Democratic Socialists of America.
A wide, very wide-ranging group with multiple different political beliefs. If you are on the left, there's a good chance you can be taken in. As long as you're not a liberal, there's a good chance you can join the DSA right now.
At the moment, there are a left-wing branch of the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Because we have a two-party system. Well, all right. So I'm going to ask you some questions that I found. I have listened to so many capitalist shills over the past couple of days.
Jesus Christ.
I do want to clarify.
Oh, envy you.
I am a card-holding member of my local DSA chapter. I have been a member for over a year now, but I did not become a due payer until a few months ago. I am by no means the end-all and be-all of the DSA. I do not represent my branch. I do not represent my chapter. I do not represent anything but my own personal beliefs.
Yeah, and we're going to, well, I'm not going to be answering anything, but these guys are going to answer everything as objectively and as concisely as possible.
I'll try.
We're going to try.
Concise.
I'm pretty caffeinated.
Gentlemen. I know that's not in your DNA.
Yeah.
But let's give it a shot.
Okay, I will try. I'm going to try to be...
So let's start with definitions, right?
Yes. We're going to start off just to clarify some terms here. There's a lot of blurring between definitions. So first off, what is the definition of democratic socialism? And you can go ahead and do socialism as well if it's...
because they're kind of intrinsically linked, right?
Yeah.
So socialism is an economic and political system where collectively public ownership controls the means of production. And the idea behind it is that they're going to redistribute wealth, and it prioritizes human need over profit. So basically there's no state. There's
no private industry.
It's owned by the people. And that links us back to democratic socialism, which combines like the socialist economic system with a strict adherence still to multi-party democratic government. So it's socialism with the state also involved.
So very simply defined, socialism is a stateless, classless society where the means of production is owned by the public and not by private industry or government. Democratic socialism keeps democracy, the democratic structure of representative government, but with strong social safety nets paid for by the public.
Yep.
So, like, it's a pretty big difference.
Yes, heavily different.
Like, you know, that's...
And this is whenever you get into internal factions within the DSA as well. They argue about this stuff all the
and
time.
as they should.
Yeah, and,
you know.
yeah.
But it depends what kind of system that you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure Kane's going to get to it, but do we want something like Norway or Sweden or...
Yeah, we are going to get into some different states and stuff later.
So.
But the thing that we hear all the time, I hear it from it's Fox News likes to talk about this. This word comes up all the time. Marxists.
Yep.
Socialists are Marxists. The social democrats are Marxists. Left-wingers are Marxists.
Left-wingers
supporting
are not.
gay rights is Marxist somehow.
No, this is Marxist. Okay.
So
I'm
clarify.
I'm already infuriated.
Yeah, it's frustrating. So, simply put, are democratic socialists Marxists?
Yes.
Democratic socialists have an element of Marxism to their philosophy, but not all Marxists are democratic socialists. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Marxists are democratic socialists, but not all democratic socialists are Marxists.
Yes.
Okay, so what makes someone a Marxist? Why are some democratic socialists Marxists and others aren't? Are they both under this same ideology, but they differ on this thing? Well, Marxism is a pretty big thing to disagree on.
Well, because the idea behind the DSA is to unite the left wing. That has always been the core philosophy of the DSA. So anarchists aren't necessarily Marxist, but they are welcome in the DSA.
And I think you get back to like what the political philosophy of Marx just is in general, just so we're clear. I mean, really what Marx was looking at was his country at the time. You have the bourgeoisie, as he called them. Mm-hmm. They're very rich. And the proletariat, the working class, there's a huge wealth disparity between them at the time.
Yep.
And what he's writing about is saying that capitalism, by its very nature, exploits workers. It exploits cheap labor, therefore people will die and people will not have the means to live a full life. And this is getting into like core philosophy.
Yes.
And what it means to be alive. And how do we achieve that? He's not necessarily making a political argument. Of course he is, but what he's saying, how do you achieve, that level? That's the philosophy's goal, right? What's the best way to live as a human being? And in our society, I think... Go ahead,
in a society.
Yeah, in a society.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say in society.
Yeah.
It's political theory.
And what he's essentially arguing is that at its core, capitalism exploits its workers. And so therefore, we need to change we need some sort of system of government that changes the balance of that. And then, of course, that's scary because the powers that be are economically in a position of power. So they immediately want to demonize this idea, of course.
Before I ask the next thing, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to push back on this a little bit. Marxism is the philosophy that one day socialism will overtake capitalism and create a stateless society.
I think that's taking it to an extreme.
That's the literal.
For Marx? No,
not for Marx.
That's just what he's saying.
That's what Marxism is.
Yes. Sorry.
Democratic socialism, by its nature, preserves the state. So how can you be a democratic socialist and a Marxist?
Because you take theories from Marx. You don't believe everything that he says word for word, bar for bar.
But is that being a Marxist then?
Yes. Because you're still advocating for things like strong unions. You're still advocating for things like...
This is the sort of the ship of Theseus thing. Like, how much do you take from it before it's not the thing anymore?
That's a good question. And that's a large internal debate within the DSA.
Because they seem like conflicting ideologies.
Yes, they are. But I think it would be... You can't... As much as I'd like to argue, just because the word Marxism has been so demonized, you don't have democratic socialism without it being born from Marx's initial idea.
Yes. Okay, I feel like now's a good time to go into this.
Okay,
so the DSA has subsects, right? There's what it's called the DSA left and the DSA right. The DSA right believes in electoral politics. Those are the ones that you see everywhere on the news. Those are your Zohran Mamdanis, those are your AOCs, those are your Bernie Sanders even. And the DSA left is a lot more hardline in their thinking. They believe that the only true way to bring political revolution is through revolution.
The DSA's views don't necessarily represent socialist views in a broad spectrum. We'll get into other countries later, but their socialist parties, their democratic socialist parties have different views than American socialists. I don't want. We're not going to get into specific states and cases just yet.
Okay.
This doesn't seem like it could work without a. I'm trying to avoid using the word, but a strong, unified figurehead in charge. So, does democratic socialism, does its proper function necessitate having a unified, singular leader with almost unchallenged control?
You're talking about dictatorships or authoritarianism. Yes.
Which is at its
which at its core is what the left fights about all the time, right? Is reform policies the best way to go? Well, if you listen to Marx himself, he believed in both. He said that the United States truly did have the opportunity at one time. I don't know. It's hard to tell if he believed this. If he was alive today, he would believe this now. But at one time, he did truly believe that political revolution could happen through the ballot box. But he also did champion stuff like armed unions and mass worker riots. Marx believed in a lot of different ways of political revolution. So it's kind of up to you how you interpret his work.
We're talking about democratic socialism, not Marxism.
The idea that you need some sort of, especially in this country that we're in, that you need some sort of mass figurehead to put everyone in line, I don't think is necessarily the case, because we have systems already built that democratic socialists can work through to change laws, and if they can get a majority to push them and enforce the actual laws we already have. Because this idea that there is no democratic socialism in American government is ridiculous in and of itself. It's already kind of built into the system since FDR, since Teddy Roosevelt broke up monopolies. These things are already inherently built into our system that we could push through. The idea that you need a daddy boss to push this through is not really relevant in our system right now. You see that kind of happening in our country right now with the right, and it's not going well. So that's probably not the path that anybody's going to take in the other direction, I wouldn't imagine.
Let's pivot back to your question.
Yeah.
Do any elected officials within the DSA organization believe that we need authoritarianism or a dictatorship of the poor?
That's a great...
No.
That's...
Dorhan Mamdani doesn't believe that. AOC doesn't believe that. DAC doesn't believe
clarify,
that.
You're referring to the position of the DSA, not necessarily the capabilities of democratic socialism as a system.
I am referring to these individual politicians.
Yes.
Because the DSA is a multitude of different...
It's a big umbrella.
This. Yes. There is so many different... There are Maoists, Marxists, Leninists. There are anarchists. There are so many different forms of left-wing ideology within the DSA, and they all believe different things. I do not speak for all of them. I will never claim to speak for all of them.
But doesn't democratic socialism, can it not kind of be a bit of a slippery slope to that?
Slippery slope's literally a logical fallacy in and of itself. But
just to clarify, not my position.
No, it's not, because the amount of ridiculous shit that would have to fall into place for even someone to co-opt the party like that is ridiculous. I mean, it's happened on the right a little bit, and like I said, the populist pushback to that has been crazy. I just don't see it happening in left-wing politics, especially in the United States.
It's completely it's a mute question, because it's completely unattainable for the American left wing. The Overton window in America, sorry, I should probably use definitions. The Overton window is pretty much the idea of where neutral politics stands, where centrism actually lies. And the Overton window in America has always been right-wing. Yes. There is no way for a communist to power grab within this country, at least right now. In the political state that we live in right now, it's just not possible.
Okay, to shift a little bit, but stay in that same vein, socialism, again, by definition, true socialism, does not have private property or private industry. So how does democratic socialism reconcile democracy and elements of capitalism with lack of private property and private industry. Does democratic socialism allow for private property?
Well, yeah, I got you on this one, John. It absolutely does allow for private property because the whole definition of democratic socialism is combining two systems together, right? Like no country in the world today outside of North Korea exists in a completely controlled economic state. Even your communist Vietnam and China doesn't do that. They all still have free markets available because that's just the way the world works, and it's the way it's always going to work. So there's always going to be free markets, right? It's just how we use the free market to enact democratic socialist ideas like safety nets, like healthcare, like education, like things that we shouldn't have to pay for in order to live a genuine, happy human life. That's a God-given right, I think, to every human being. It's the way that...
Metaphorically, you don't believe that literally.
No. But you know what I'm saying.
I know people who believe that.
But like, so that's democratic socialism's solution, right? It's FDR. It's okay. We're going to build all these roads. We're going to fix these systems. We're going to take the money that we made from World War II, and that money we're going to move it to do these sort of programs. We're going to do it to create Social Security. We're going to use it to create the food stamp program. It's that sort of idea, right?
Employment,
right? So the government doesn't take control over all industry. There's still a free market, but it would take control over some industries to ensure that, or enact laws to ensure that these private industries still provide a service to the people with the people's best interest in mind, not whatever the market says is okay. Because again, this is ranting. I know it's not a question. Because if the market was still deciding what things were good and what things were bad, we'd still be spraying DDT on crops right now, and all of us would have cancer. So we can't wait for the market to decide everything.
All right, so this next one is kind of nested. There's like a few sort of things within it, but going off of the private industry thing, how does in a democratic socialist party, in a democratic socialist system, does that not hurt innovation and industry's ability? Because
it goes back to DDT. This idea that we could wait for the market to... Okay, so it's a libertarian argument, right? The free market, based on its monetary, based on will eventually make the right decision, right? That's the idea. The market will move in the direction it needs to go in because monetary value, it goes in that direction. But DDT is a great example of that because it's not financially beneficial for them to stop using DDT. They had no intention to stop using DDT until government had to enact a law to do so. And I think that's where even our libertarian friends would come in and be like, yeah, that should be the role of a central government. It's that what you're making is essentially a libertarian. But it doesn't work. Like we have all kinds of stuff that we could point to show that look at how terrible this could have been if the government didn't step in. If the government didn't step in and break up those monopolies under Theodore Roosevelt. How terrible shape we would be in as a country right now. There would still be secret police owned by, Johnson & Johnson to come in anytime a worker complains about their 225.
Doesn't this...
Sorry.
No, you're good.
But again, like, if we're socializing things like medicine, isn't that harming private industry in that sector? Won't that cause, like...
I ask why.
Won't that cause, like, massive unemployment? Like, if you socialize healthcare,
it could, yeah.
Millions of insurance workers are going to be out of jobs. If you socialize, if you create socialized transportation, then that's going to put... Like,
which is the point of the government, right? The government should step in those situations and hire a lot of those people into the private sector. That should be the end goal of a lot of this stuff.
And not to be a dick, but if we leave it to the free market, AI is going to take a bunch of jobs and people are going to be unemployed.
But how does democratic socialism account for that?
A lot of the time, in systems where this has happened before, historically, they either get hired onto the government sector or they're placed inside of these publicly owned hospitals and their work is there now instead.
But my example, insurance workers, there's no need for them in that system. So what happens to those people?
I mean, realistically, what will probably happen is there would still be a form of privatized healthcare for the ultra wealthy who could afford it. I mean, they could get jobs in those sectors. Are people going to lose their jobs?
Yes.
Is it going to be awful?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. Does the greater good outweigh that, and people aren't going to? It's a tough question because it's on the same on the other end too, right? Like, there is no happy, we're going to go dance into the rainbows answer to this question.
Yeah.
The true answer is there also used to be shoe repairmen, and now there isn't because we don't need them anymore. Is the honest answer to that.
Well,
Very, very well put.
going off that, what about environmental issues? So if the government takes over, because, you know, the trust in the government is extremely low.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of corruption in the way they assign certain contracts and everything. How do you deal with like environmental issues when a lot of research into the environment is being done in private industry? If you're handicapping private industry, then how does
you fund science services? It's pretty simple. You
But where are you gonna
dedicate
get
a
the money
government
for that?
program. You tax the rich.
Or not even just tax the rich.
Tax everyone.
Not to bring up a country, but there's some countries out there whose government has taken over their oil industries, and they use that tax money to fund things like free healthcare and free education. The money's there; it exists, and it exists in our system now because we spend more money per capita per person than any other country in the world on healthcare.
Okay,
under the capitalist system we have now, it is inefficient.
But under democratic socialism, is higher education also not socialized?
Yeah,
it is.
Of course it is.
Okay, so it's the same issue. Research is being done at universities that are private universities that have huge donors, huge rich donors, rich alumni who are donating massive amounts of money to do this research.
Yeah.
Can taxing them cover that gap?
Not just taxing them, you also reform your budget. We spend more than some economies on our military. You take money from that and you put it into different social services.
We're still building tanks and airplanes to fight the Russians during the Cold War. Like their social welfare programs within the military where they build planes that we don't even use anymore. The money exists in this country. It's already there. We just don't utilize it.
Okay.
And you can't use the thing, we're too big, it's too different. Canada does it.
So let's sort of take this to a different direction. We already have certain social safety nets, certain socialist things in the country. There is a fair amount of abuse in those systems.
Yep, 100%.
If we expand those social systems, are we not expanding the potential for abuse of those systems?
There's abuse of those systems right now in this, like in the capitalist system that we work under. It won't change anything.
And it's not a huge number of people. The myth of the welfare queen, there has been research since Reagan came up with this brilliant idea to divide classes and put us into our own little mini culture war in the 80s, that it is such a small fraction of people. The rules in place already make for gaming the system very difficult. Your aunt selling her food stamp card also barely hurts the system in any sort of meaningful way. It's such a bad faith argument. The idea that one black woman in Chicago might get food stamps or healthcare for free when she doesn't deserve it, but she's somehow getting paid under the table. So that means millions of people should die because they can't afford their back surgery or their heart surgery or their insulin. Let's talk about insulin, which is a real thing in this country right now that's happening, that people are having to choose between whether or not they can feed their families or afford their insulin shots.
So
it's a moral question that you have to ask yourself, which one are you more mad about?
Let's shift to a similar myth here. A lot of people dislike billionaires on the right and the left.
Yep.
But because under democratic socialism, taxes will increase.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of it's an
the
essential function
endpoint
of it.
Yep.
On everyone.
Yep.
They will be higher on wealthier people.
Yep.
Again, a lot of people hate billionaires. It's not just left-wingers. But what about like millionaires? What about someone who started a business from scratch, worked their way up, they built their business through hard work and determination? Are we going to take their money and give it to people who can't even hold down a job?
Yes.
Short answer, yes.
Yes, we are.
But here's the thing. Your aunt who owns an ice company is not going to be charged the same as Elon Musk.
No.
Elon Musk is a dude who we will speaking generally and broadly again. But what I believe we need to do for billionaires is we legit need to tax them like 50%.
You should not be a billionaire.
Yeah.
That's disgusting, first of all. It's a disgusting amount of wealth. I don't care how hard you work. I don't care how many hours you work a week. Yeah. I don't care how many hours you work a week. Yeah. Billionaires are disgusting, and it just shouldn't exist.
We're going full red star here, I guess. Kill billionaires, tax millionaires.
No, I mean, honest here. And again, and then when you become a millionaire, yes, you work very hard, but there has to be a ceiling. There has to be a ceiling to how much money you can hoard, right? Because then it becomes it's just tons of problems exist from that right now. And you think we're sounding crazy? How much more money do you fucking need? How many more yachts do you need? How much more do you need as a millionaire? Sure, you made it to your millions. You've worked very hard. You pulled yourself up by your bootstraps, and you've made it. I'm happy for you, but you're not going to be still in the same income tax bracket as like the maximum earners in this country.
No, and you can look at democratic socialists who have gotten elected. Take Zorhan for example. He's not taxing people who are worth $5 million. That's not who he's going after.
Who own more than 2 houses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're not going to be. It's not going to be a crazy increase for you to the point where you feel like you're being robbed. You will get more out of your taxes as well. It's not like you're paying into a system right now. Like right now, how you pay into a system, what do you get in return? Nothing.
But doesn't this, in a way, hurt the less fortunate? Because millionaires donate a lot. By the way, this is a real argument that a pastor.
Come on now.
This isn't.
Come on now. We can't take this seriously.
No, this isn't. No, this is a real argument that
let's hear the argument. Let's hear the argument.
This is a real argument that a pastor made.
I want to hear it.
Okay. That a Christian pastor made.
Yeah, hit it.
Mm-hmm. And as Jesus said, the millionaires shall inherit the earth and feed the poor.
This is a real argument he made. I'm not making it up.
I believe you.
They donate so much to the poor. They create wealth that can then be used to help the poor. Under socialism, democratic socialism, that wealth would not be created and the poor would...
This is trickle-down economics. This is what this argument is.
It's Jesus, John.
This is ridiculous. And there's not a single person who legit... If someone makes this argument towards you, they are being disingenuous. Yeah. This is not a real argument, and it's not even worth trying to attack.
Yeah, they do donate, sure, to certain organizations.
To get tax breaks. That's the only reason. They don't do it out of the kindness of their heart.
I think some folks donate to genuine causes that they believe in.
I don't believe
But the fact that you think that's going to put that is actually putting a real dent, where is it? Where is the Elon Musk housing project for the homeless? Where is that money? Where is it? Because he has enough to do it, and it barely make a dent in his wallet. He can do it in the city he lives in right now and solve the homeless crisis. So why is he not doing it? Where's that money he's donating? Where is it? Where is it being put into use at? Yes, churches do great things and help people find food banks and provide food banks and help better women find housing, and that's wonderful. But it's not solving big picture issues either.
I want to interject on this. The point is that they wouldn't be in that situation to begin with to need charity.
Yes. Yeah. If it wasn't for the fucking system that they existed.
But that guy also made the point that
this argument is ridiculous.
No, this guy literally argued that capitalism was more Christian. It is the real person who really made these arguments, and I had to listen to them. So
capitalism as a function literally preys upon our weakest weakness and greed. Okay, never mind.
All right, so we're gonna, because this is getting intense, so we're gonna shift a little bit. Socialism and democratic socialism are more collectively minded. So does this not erase individuality? Does this not sort of the American individualism? Is this not sort of erasing it in favor of a collective? Excuse me. Is this not erasing in favor of a collective ideology and worldview that skews to the left?
I'm unsure what you're asking. Elaborate a little bit.
I do understand what you're asking, and you're asking almost like a philosophical idea of what it means to be an American, right?
Well,
the
not
idea
necessarily America. I mean, we apply to America because we are in America, but just in the broad spectrum
Right.
of
Individual liberties? Is that what you mean?
no individualism
which just
Okay.
means you
versus collectivism. Does it not shift us toward collectivism?
Yeah, kinda, but like most people don't have politics being their single-minded goal. You know, you'll still be you. It doesn't really change that.
and I mean this idea of individualism, you hear that word thrown around a lot, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean anything. What you're saying is the American idea of individualism. People say that all the time. Ask them what they mean by that. Like literally, what do you mean by that? If you were making, I know it's not really you, Cam, but what do you mean by the American idea of individualism?
well,
Explain that to me.
Well, yeah, the American thing was my sort of thing,
Yeah.
but the person I heard this argument from was basically just arguing that individualism is better than collectivism, and socialism will bring in collectivism, which would be a negative.
The only person who would ever believe that is a person who sits in his high castle on a heap
Oh,
of
you know
money.
that same pastor that.
Yeah,
But-
it's just
Well,
This dude has really bad arguments.
yeah.
no, I mean, but you do hear these bad faith arguments all the time, and that's what it is. It sounds good. You're using lots of cool buzzwords,
Yeah.
and yes, part of being an American is individualism. That the American identity is about the individual. But just by participating in society, you're moving toward a collective anyway.
Well, also, and I'll break the fourth wall here and just comment on this one as well. Probably the most collectivist-minded country in the world is Japan, and they are uber capitalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not related.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get into the thing that I know you guys want to talk about.
I don't even know what it is at this point. I'm tired.
Can you give me any examples of democratic socialist states that have succeeded?
Democratic socialist or socialist?
I have a list,
Either one, broad
and I
spectrum.
even have notes of how they do it.
Give me some
I'll
examples.
let you go.
Communist China, Communist Russia. We didn't need all those people there anyway.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I was joking. That's communism. I'm kidding.
No, I
Um,
will unironically.
Way far left. But I mentioned it earlier. Somewhere like Norway, which controls their mineral resources and oil resources, and they use that tax dollars to fund their higher education and their healthcare and their retirement benefits for their citizens. Now, would that work in something like America? Probably not, but we have enough money where we could pull out sources from somewhere else.
They still have stock markets. They still
They
have.
do. They're still a
trade.
capitalist
Is that-
society.
Yep.
They do.
So
You just
is
don't
that-
buy stocks in oil or minerals.
So is that truly a socialist or democratic socialist society?
It's a democratic socialist society.
It's a,
Absolutely.
it's a socialist democratic society.
Because they control certain members of the industry. It's democratic socialism at its definition, which we talked about earlier. That
Well,
some means are
Yeah,
collectively
again, breaking the
owned.
fourth
Yeah.
wall. That is the definition of democratic socialism. That's literally what it is. But again, okay, back.
Okay.
Fourth wall, back up.
Um,
But every society that's claimed to be socialist or communist, they've failed.
no, 'cause
China?
Well,
China's worked its way up to being a superpower.
China's not communist, though.
This is where I was going to go into it. They call themselves it at least.
Yeah, well, you can call yourself whatever you want.
Yeah.
Sweden, they have a high tax rate. I know that's probably the route, like on the public. It's probably not the route that we want to go, but that's how they do it to
Is
maintain
that
their
what
stuff.
Jesus would do?
To run their social net.
Yes, it is. He said, pay your taxes.
Denmark has a thriving capitalist market, but they also have a huge labor market that has a say in all of their politics, and a huge public welfare program, parental leave, high standards of living. Also, by the way, these three countries per capita, lowest suicide rate in the entire world.
Yes. These are all social democratic examples.
Their
of,
prison systems are ran by the state, and their repeat offender levels lowest in the entire world.
Okay, what about examples like Cuba, Venezuela?
I would say Cuba is a remarkable stronghold for what it is. It has been blockaded by America for almost 30 years.
As I mentioned, they were thriving under Obama, and then they
Longer than
reversed.
30.
Is it longer than 30?
Yeah,
That's
since
crazy.
since the
It was-
50s.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cuba also
70 years? Is that right?
Cuba's hurting.
Something like that.
Cuba's hurting right now because under Barack Obama, he ended the blockade.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other countries followed suit, and they were thriving again. It became a huge tourist industry. They were making money off of that. And then they rolled it back whenever Trump came to power.
Mhm.
Joe Biden didn't roll it back because he's old. And it's been that way since Trump's first term when they rolled those back. And now they're struggling again. Cuba isn't doing well because we don't want them to. Because we have some sort of weird obsession because we lost a war to them and could never invade them like in 1968. It's strange that we're still obsessed with that.
With any of those socialist parties in South America, whenever you're talking about why they fail, almost all of them point back to America. Almost every single one.
We can get into it. We are a conspiracy podcast too sometimes. The CIA confirmed constantly fucking with the governments in South America.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a democratically elected socialist, you know whose hands are all over that place trying to be like, no.
We're going to install an authoritarian. That's our solution.
The United States is there. We need an authoritarian who's going to work with us. That's way better than any democratically elected official.
So what do you say about, like, again, Mao killed 30 million people?
Yeah, I was ready for this. You can say what you will about their government structure, and I will. I am not a Maoist. I am not. I am not a Maoist. I do not believe in constant revolution, nor do I really believe in a one-state party. Like a lot of Marxists just
You mean
straight
a
up
one-party state?
Yeah, one party. What did I say?
You said a one-state party.
But you cannot deny success. Just straight up. China is on its way to becoming the global superpower.
China's not Maoist, though. They're not communists. They can call themselves that, but they're objectively not.
But they do have communist elements within their system. A lot more communist than America is. Or even some social democratic places. And again, say what you will about the USSR, they did make insane leaps and bounds in technology. They were the first person to enter space, not the moon, but they were the first people to enter space. And objectively, they defeated the Nazis. So again, say what you will about these authoritarian one-state communist parties. Most of the big ones that you know of them for a reason. They were successful.
Then they got too big for their britches, and they forgot
China
why they
works.
were there. Is what happened. They forgot.
Yeah.
They forgot what put them there. They forgot that this was at the end of the day a labor movement, and when they started neglecting their people, that's when everything started to fall apart. China is a weird one, right?
Well, but it's going back to this. China is an authoritarian government.
Yes.
At the end of the day,
So
it is.
the example you're giving of socialism that works is one under
That's
authoritarian
not
That's not
rule.
true.
That's
I gave
not
you
social.
3 other places. Now you're being insincere because you asked us about China in particular,
I did not. I asked you about Mao,
which leads us into China and
who's
Vietnam.
long dead. I didn't ask
Philosophically,
you about modern China.
Philosophically, historically, that brings us into China and Vietnam and their version of communism, which is very different from the Leninism that gave birth to the USSR.
Yeah,
but
I
it
may have
is.
introduced
So
you. I
you're
didn't
being
say
politically and
I didn't say it was a
philosophically
success.
insincere
You
with
guys
that
said it was a
question.
success.
All right,
You're
chill.
being politically and
Chill,
philosophically
chill,
insincere with that question.
Nope.
If this
It's
was
a
a
legitimate question.
debate room, the person would be banging the gavel right now. Y'all chill.
This is a legitimate question.
Yeah, what's the question?
How do you justify your answer? We just talked about earlier that you don't need a dictator for this to work, and you are specifically stating one current country that is the most successful example. It is a dictatorship, objectively.
Yep.
How do you reconcile that?
See, that's the thing. That's the hard part, right? That's what a lot of the infighting in the DSA is over.
I don't think you need that, though. That's the point, right? China's pointed at it as a boogeyman, but you don't need it.
Objectively,
you don't need that authoritarian
China
state.
has a bigger economy than Switzerland and Sweden.
Yep.
They have more political influence
They
than
also
Switzerland.
have a lot more
They have more
populous-
cultural influence on the world.
They also have a larger population and a lot more natural resources at their benefit to become that. That's your answer. That's why they're more successful, just based on the grace of God of where they were born.
But could they have done that under a democratic system?
Oh, absolutely, you could.
At the time period, okay, whenever you're talking about Mao and Lenin, you have to take into account the places that they grew up in. These places are war torn. China had just been like absolutely nuked, not literally nuked, but nuked by Japan. I don't remember the exact, multiple revolutions within a oligarchical Russia is what Lenin grew up in. Both of these dudes, there's a reason they didn't see democracy as a way. They saw revolution as the only way because it was their only way. This is insane oligarchy that we're talking about.
Capitalism literally ruined their country.
Yes.
After the war.
Okay, but let's go back to the example of modern China. Because, again, you guys introduced this. They built one of the world's largest rail networks in a matter of decades.
Yep.
Could they have done that under democracy?
That's a good ass question. Probably
under
not.
Pure democracy?
Probably not.
Under democratic socialism?
No, probably not.
No. But that's not the route that we're arguing we should go.
Some DSA members will.
I know some will, but I'm not personally.
But it is socialized transportation.
It is.
It covers the vast majority of, maybe not vast majority, but a huge section of the most densely populated parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And rural parts of the country as well.
Yes, it does go into rural parts as well.
Right, but
objectively, this is by any metric, this is a success.
Yeah, I'm not arguing.
Under a system that you both say
that you previously argued wasn't communism, was actually mostly capitalism, but also too it is a dictatorship.
I'm talking about your arguments that you guys made, not my arguments. But this is there's a lot of metrics of success that they have achieved that democratic socialism would consider a success, but they achieved it under an authoritarian rule.
If you're asking, democracy is slower. It just objectively is. I mean, it will always be.
But that's what we mean, and as far leftists, when we say we have an analog system that needs to move into the digital world, right? There are elements of this that we could take into play. We definitely don't need a lot of the red tape that we have in this country that exists because of our bureaucracy. And yes, there is something to the right-wing idea of examining bureaucracy and where we can cut the red tape and the fat. They just went about it scattershot in an insane way. I'm not defending China or how they got it done. I'm not saying that it's awesome that they're an authoritarianism socialist country. Communist country, call it what you will, or they prefer to call it communism. I would say it's more of an authoritarian socialist structure because they do have elements of capitalism majorly. But it's comparable in a way, not to being like we should be China, we should do what they do. It'd be way more efficient if we had a strong man in charge. Sure, that's true in every situation, even under Mussolini, the trains ran on time. That's the old joke, right? But in America, that's not what we have to do. We don't have to go about it that way. There needs to be real leadership coming from places like the socialists in this country that can vocalize these things and get the ball moving on it. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be one way or the other. That's not what we're trying to say here at all.
Yeah, this is such a dense argument because realistically, what we are doing right now is what happens in every single chapter of your local DSA. Every single chapter, I almost guarantee, has had this exact conversation before. Where, yes, authoritarianism is faster. It will get more shit done. It's just how it is. But can you trust the authoritarian to not eventually turn that knife on you?
And my answer to that is always no, which is why democratic socialism, I think, is the best way to go at the end of the day. But like I said, is there something that we could look at China and be like, how do we remove these elements of bureaucracy that doesn't need to exist? And we need a modern system because our current system runs like fucking molasses.
Does that answer your question, Kane?
Devil's advocate, I'm just pushing back on it.
Yeah, but like for the devil's advocate situation, does that answer the question to the best of our abilities, I feel like?
I think it's a decent way to answer it. I think the thing, because when people are going to make this argument that socialism, by its structure, is only really works properly the way it's supposed to work when there is an authoritarian figure in charge. Lots of people do argue that.
No, they do. Yeah, I know some of them.
But the thing
it's the classic Lenin argument. Would you rather have a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie or the dictatorship of the proletariat?
There's people on the right who argue this is a boogeyman, and there's people on the left who genuinely, on the far left, who genuinely feel this way. Do they have any real voice in politics right now?
Well, no, because they don't believe in democracy as a system.
General,
they organize protests. They do shit like that. They feed the homeless.
My view on this is it kind of one of the arguments I made earlier. It said it came from one guy or something, but a lot of people do make this, is the argument of individuality versus collectivism.
This is the most dense question I think you've asked so far.
Arguing that socialism leads to collectivism while also arguing that it needs a dictator are two contradictory ideas. Collectivism, by definition, is a unified...
when the question's disingenuous in and of itself. Because we're never going to become China.
But it's a thick
Again,
question.
it's that silly slippery slope thing. It's like, we're never going to have a socialist dictator.
You never know. In 10 years, we might be out here like...
That means we won. Hey, if that happens, that means we won.
We're having a different conversation about political philosophies. If we somehow move that window to the
so
left that
far
far,
to the left that we're worried about a leftist dictator, shit, man, we fucking won.
the way things are going, we might be Chinese state media in 10 years. You don't know.
well, state media is already almost a thing. So.
Yeah. One thing that needs to be argued in this case is the emphasis on like the word democratic in the words democratic socialism.
Yes, they are very important.
It preserves representative democracy.
Yes. At their core, they believe your Zorhans, your AOCs, most of these political figures you see on the DSA side believe
it preserves what makes America truly great. And not the bullshit. It's literally the checks and balances.
Yes. But so it also, by definition, shifts power away from a unitarian figure.
Yes.
Because it puts more authority in the people. Again, certain like in a democratic socialist society, we would have a say in how our tax dollars get spent rather than it being shoved into some random bill and just pushed through secretly. And like democratic socialism accounts for those things.
It should be illegal.
Realistically, democratic socialist of the modern day, what everyone would consider a modern day democratic socialist, is really liberal at its core. Yeah. Is very, very liberal. It's just shifting the party to the left in a way that's not been done in America since FDR. So everyone thinks it's like communism.
I think that's the ultimate goal. Even no matter how extreme my beliefs are, or John's beliefs are, or someone or his friend sitting next to him, I think the collective goal is we have to move
the Overton window to the left.
Because we've done this now. We've flirted with fascism. I know I don't even consider that a bad word. We're just talking about government here. And I think it's honestly a good thing we flirted with fascism. We got it out of the way. We saw that it's not working for people. It's not working for the population of the United States. So let's move this window to the left, because we haven't done that since after World War II. And let's see how it goes. Let's see what happens.
Honestly, I'm ready to let an AI take over and just be in charge.
I don't know about all that, Chief.
I trust a dictatorship of the proletariat more than I trust the dictatorship of an AI.
You're ready for the I have no mouth and must scream world.
Well, to be fair, the whole AI is going to kill all humans. That's alarmist bullshit. That's not going to happen. That's not.
It also helps secure funding for AI corporations.
I don't know,
that's why they keep saying
this Discord group I'm a part of. It's like Zizian. You guys gotta check it out. It is interesting, and this may be an info hazard right here that we're in.
Okay, so yeah, I played some devil's advocate here. I try to push back a little bit. It doesn't reflect how I feel. I'm probably a little bit more.
Yeah, you can put your MAGA hat back on.
I'm probably more extreme on this than the two of you are.
Yeah, and to be honest, we have been having this conversation since this is the most American conversation, because we've literally been having this argument since we formed this country. This is the Federalist versus the Anti-Federalist. How much control do we want the government and the rich to have versus the poor? You had your Jefferson on one side, your Hamilton on the other. Hamilton's being almost wants a kingship again, wants the aristocracy to rule. And then you have Jefferson, who's a populist guy. People should be able to vote, direct democracy, all that kind of stuff. And they met in the middle and made America. And now we have representative democracy.
I think something that's lost sometimes, though, in history is that capitalism was a left-wing revolution. At the time, capitalistic democracy was the left-wing revolutionary state towards monarchy.
Yes.
It was left-wing.
Or feudalism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feudalism
Our
was the
founding
oligarchy
fathers
of its
are
day.
revolutionary in nature.
Yeah.
Revolution should be in our blood, but we're all pussies about
Except
it.
for Alexander Hamilton. Fuck that guy. Can't believe there's a musical that made him cool.
We can't revolution because the Constitution was written by Jesus, and we have to obey it.
Yeah, real.
I try to find things that are part of the sort of the common misunderstanding and misinformation. I tried to rile you guys up a little bit. I think I succeeded. Hopefully this was informative, and hopefully we cleared some things up for people. You don't necessarily have, we're not saying that you have to think democratic socialism is the right choice. We just want to make sure you have a better understanding of it going forward. And hopefully you listened this far. If you did, please like and subscribe and comment. We're more than happy for you to disagree with us if that's what you think, or agree with us. Just engage. We're cool with it. Anyway.
Vote Francesca Hong in Wisconsin. Bye.
This is going to be a bitch to edit.